Hello everyone, welcome. Today I will discuss the another important session, human language and animal language. Let's we move to the topic. What are the differences between human language and animal language? In the previous session, we already learn the importance of human language and human language defined as systematic or system of system like that. And human language, we know the first form of communication. Animal language is always a bit complicated, right? Animals can use signs only for their communication, right? So human language, how we call human language systematic or system of systems. We already cover a lot of definitions, and through that definitions we may find that it is quite systematic because it includes lot of small constituents like words, phonemes and the morphemes. Here the cry of animals or the body movement of the bees cannot be analyzed into smaller units. Human language is structured at different levels, at the level of phonemes and morphemes and the level of words, right? Human language we can describe through this systematic mode, but animal language or animal communication lacks all these capabilities. And we could understand that human language, that kind of capability or capacity to acquire something or to produce something, to innovate something, that special ability we call the property of language. Charles Hockett calls this property of language as the duality of structure. That special unique power or the special capability of human beings, God give that blessing only to human beings, right? So that special blessing or that special capacity, Charles Hockett calls the duality of structure, right? Here we could understand the difference through these properties only, through this base, how human language differ from animal language, right? Next, animal communication. Animal communication, we know, consists of meaningful cries which cannot be analyzed into constant elements such as phonemes and morphemes. We can't categorize like human communication. Animal communication is always consist of what? Some kind of cries or voice, right? For example, animal communication seems to be only for the present moments. It talk about future, it not talk about present. It's not even human communication have all these capabilities about producing even does not exist in this world, any event, any incident in front of us. And animal communication, we don't know how, for example, a cat says, if a cat says mew, we don't know what is the reason behind that. You really not know when cat says for eating or feeding or whatever. We human beings can have this special power, that capability. The cry of animals denotes approaching danger, mating instinct, anger, etc. The chirping of birds and the buzzing of bees are means of communication, but they serve only a limited number of purposes. Here there is a kind of argument. We have really doubts, animal communicate before thinking, before they thought. No, when a dog barks, when he think about that kind of barking, that style of barking, no, it doesn't. Without thought they bark. And human language, use the language he keep in mind, what he utter, he already stored in mind. He speaking, write about writing, what human beings or what we keep in mind. Like this special feature we call property, understand? But cry of animals, animals can also communicate, but only through these signals. It's always limited. The bees, for example, have only two modes of body movements called bee dance to signify distance and the other to denote direction. That point is important, because in the case of honeybee, we know honeybee use some special properties of language. Okay, do we how you can understand that special capability of honeybee actually helps us to find the location of storing of honey, right? Through some pattern they communicate, they helps human beings to find the exact location of honey, right? Some of these qualities or some of this power honeybees acquire. In that context, or to some extent, bees can know to allow human beings to find that location. That special ability is only for bees. Okay, many more studies in this area. This is not our branch anyway. And here, human language and animal language is entirely different. They can communicate, but with logic and without logic. To some extent, bees only that kind of species have this special ability to more or less that moody movements or signals or thought, whatever. And through this property of language, we can differentiate human language and animal language. George Yule is not our syllabus. George Yule, Y-U-L-E. George Yule, the famous linguist, called differentiate animal communication and human communication through these properties. There are many properties here. Let's we move to the next slide, that is differences, how human language and animal language differ each other. First one, it is open-ended. What is open-ended? Human language is always open-ended, always innovative, it always creative, it productive. Many more studies in human language. That's why we take this matter into our syllabus. Okay, and the signals of human language can be combined a variety of ways. Human language may therefore be called open-ended. At the same time, animal language is closed. A very little creativity, a very little productivity in the animal language. It does not have any variety of combination or organization of constituent elements. It does not have any structure or systematic pattern. So it is entirely different. Next is first property of language, that is duality of patterning. Pattern means a structure or a style. Here language displays two levels of patterning. It made up of sounds and smaller formal units called phonemes, morphemes and words. Right, here actually the same point repeating. Here language already we could understand that it made up of smaller units like phonemes, morphemes and words. A stretch of speech in any human language can be analyzed into smaller units. A large number of meanings can be expressed by means of limited number of signals. Only limited number of signals can find in animal language. That duality of patterning, that special ability only possessed by human being. Next is recursiveness. Recursiveness is a kind of creativity or productivity. Human beings can produce and understand large number of utterances. There is no limit to the length or number of sentences a speaker can produce. And human beings, I told you, even talk about prediction, even talk about something not happened in this world, and he is always innovative or creative, finding new words, finding new sentences and all these lacks animal communication. Using a finite number of rules which are repeatedly used, a speaker can produce never uttered before. This property is called recursiveness. What does recursiveness, what do you mean by Recursiveness is an important term. So recursiveness is a kind of capability, productivity, a kind of capacity to produce sentences never uttered before. The same word have different words in different languages. The same object have different words in many different languages. Human beings can only that special ability, right? In that sense, human have more power to create something new. If you want to communicate something new, you can add so many words and elements. So we can add new words and sentences to the already existing ones, or even form and inside sentences. This property of language is called creativity. Okay, recursiveness and creativity is the most two important points, especially your examination point of view. Recursiveness, I told you, a speaker can produce sentences never uttered before. That is called recursiveness. Creativity, on the other hand, if you add new words and sentences to the already existing one. Okay, for example, in Malayalam we have different words like kidu or whatever in your local language or regional language. There are some words already. Okay, already some words are there, and to a part of our contribution, or in our day-to-day language, we can add new sentences, new words based on your culture, based on your shift from one place to another place, or you got new friends, right? So all through this course of life, you can add new sentences or new words. This called creativity. The next one is what? Arbitrariness. Arbitrariness is the third one. Arbitrariness is the third one. Arbitrariness or onamatopic. Two most important property, the most interesting faculty of communication. There is no relationship. There is no one-to-one correspondence between the vocal sounds and the concepts or ideas. The relationship between a word and its referent is purely arbitrary. That means there is no logical relationship, or there is no natural connection between the object and its referent. For example, why did you call a desk or bench? Does it look like a bench? Does it look like a desk? Through generation to generation, or by generation, from generation to generation, you got that special word, right? Okay, what is the reason behind that? There is no reason. And different languages have different words. In Malayalam, different any special word for bench. Okay, in different languages we have different words. Okay, for tree, for example, we can call that kind of structure many branches, right and left. So we automatically call that special object is tree. Okay, in Malayalam it have different words. In Bengali or in Urdu or Hindi, it have different words. The concept and the meaning and the word are different. Right, no positive relationship, no logical relationship. Why we call that special particular thing a tree? How you identify a tree? So no positive relationship between a speech and its object. This property is called arbitrariness, or arbitrariness. And onamatopic. Onamatopic is entirely different. Don't be confused. Arbitrariness and onamatopic. Okay, onamatopic is sound represents their reference. Some exceptions are there. There are exceptions in language. The words like buzz, cuckoo. This is the best word. The sound and the voice and the concept. The voice and that utterance is more or like same. We feel that there is a relationship between the referent and its object. That kind of thing, that kind of voice we call onomatopic. There is no reason, otherwise there is no reason why we call that special. And in this context, I remember Shakespeare actually says, what is in your name? Your name is also a byproduct of your parents, from your parents, or from whatever we got our special name through, from parents or somewhere, right? Is it inborn? No. So sounds represents that special object. There is no logical connection. Next one is displacement. What do you mean by displacement? Displacement, there is human communication can be context free. Human communication about others' experience being the use of language not directly controlled by stimulus. This property of language is called displacement. Displacement is actually a transmission. It's a part of our culture. Language is most important element of culture. Okay, from generation to generation, it's not controlled by our stimulus, it's not controlled by our emotion. This property of language is always transferable. This property of language is called displacement. Next, animal communication is context bounded. Okay, in the case of animal, there is a direct relationship between stimulus and they can respond only to their immediate environment. Okay, you can watch any animals or observe birds or dogs. They don't create any new style of barking. On the other hand, human language have the ability to express the same. What they keep in mind, they can communicate, they can transfer, they shift their ideas. Animal communication, on the other hand, it's always it's just always a sudden Next is transferability. Human language has two basic manifestations, speech and writing. It is possible to write down, speak language and read aloud the written material. This property is called transferability. Human language is always transferable, right? It's possible to write down spoken language. This property is called, this special capacity is called transferability. These differences between human language and animal language are primarily due to the fact that human brain has an innate capacity for learning language creativity. So these are the 5 properties of language. In your notes you can note down the different points, maybe your material. All these properties are more or less, I think, similar. Hope you understand. All these properties are equally important. Study well, and thank you very much.